Today I have something a bit different. I've been seeing a lot of people online talk about a Russian watch brand called Vostock. It's also referred to Bostock with a B. I think it's just how the Russian language might translate, and I think they're the same. What I've heard is they make inexpensive mechanical wristwatches. They have a long lineage. The watches they produce are largely functional timepieces in that they're a bit, they're not as accurate as some of the Swiss-made pieces. They're significantly cheaper. They are sort of meant to be a watch that you get, you wear it for a couple of years, it wears out, and you potentially just throw it away and buy another one because they're quite inexpensive. I decided to have a look around and see if I could get my hands on one, and I was actually able to obtain an Amphibia. I think in most places you're going to need to jump on sites like eBay and just see if there's any resellers there. I don't know how easy it is to get one directly from Russia. I don't think it's impossible, but look, eBay is probably your best bet depending on what you're looking for. So this one came through, this one cost about $170. Things in Australia are overpriced compared to the rest of it, so you'll probably find this same watch significantly cheaper in your area. It'll arrive in, I've seen people receive these in sort of cardboard boxes, depending on how expensive or cheap the model was. In this case, it comes in a small plastic sort of container with the usual packaging and so forth. And when we get in, we have the instruction manual. It's entirely in Russian and Cyrillic, so I would say don't bother with that. You can find the instructions to use this easily enough online, but it's a wristwatch. You can work it out. You don't really need that, but it is nice to have some documentation. So inside, we have the Amphibia. From what I understand, there are dozens of variations on the models. I could be wrong here, but what I understand is they have different lines. They have an Amphibia, they have a Komandierski, I believe, and some other lines of watches, and then there are multiple different SKUs within each of those families. The Amphibia that I've seen usually has a little icon of a diver on the watch face, so it's called the Scuba Dude. But I think this is just another variation on that particular type of watch. Very inexpensive. This one has 200 meters of water resistance. It is a dive watch. It has a solid sort of case back. We don't have a display case, which is fine. You've got a very cheap feeling bracelet. It's very jangly. So just wearing this, it will sort of jangle. In my case, I've used the micro adjuster and it's still a bit too big. I probably need to remove a link, which I'll get around to doing soon. But this is something that you're going to need to sort of adjust to get it just right. When it comes to the dial itself, I've found that the placement of the markers isn't quite correct, so they're a little bit off-center. The sort of pearls at the 12 and 6 o'clock are a little bit off-center as well. One thing that I've heard other reviewers say, and this is something I've experienced as well, is that the watch doesn't run on time. So at the end of every day, it's usually about a minute behind or a minute fast. In my case, this particular watch, it usually runs about a minute early. So every day, when I reach for it the next day, I should say, it's usually a minute ahead of where it should be. Now, despite some of these flaws, quote unquote, it is still a very compelling watch. One thing that I've found is that I put this watch on and I immediately loved it. It has a kind of charm to it. So while I do say that the bracelet is a bit plasticky, it's metal, but it feels a bit plasticky, it feels loose, it does jingle around. You do need to adjust it to get it just right. And while the dial does have some, I wouldn't call them quality control problems, it's just that things aren't quite on center, which will either bother you a lot or you won't even notice. Even though it has those sort of flaws, if you will, there is still a great deal of charm to this. It is a watch that I reach for pretty much every day when I'm not wearing something a bit more formal, and I really do enjoy wearing this. So while I am a little bit critical of some aspects of it, overall I'm very happy with the watch for this price, for what I'm getting. That seems to be part of its charm almost, in that it is a little bit wonky, it is cheap and inexpensive, it is a workhorse, if you will. It's not perfect, but it does have its own compelling value proposition. It does have its own charm. It makes you want to wear it. In this particular model, we've just got the date and time. We've got a date window. I like the font on that. It's totally readable. This does glow in the dark. It does have some lume. It is readable if you're in a dark room with this one. With the Vostock watches, they are known for having the floppy crown, if you will. So if you have a look there, it's not broken. It's just the crown was designed to be a bit loose so that if this broke, my understanding is if this broke, the internals should generally survive because you've just broken the stem, as opposed to this being fixed and inside the mechanism, meaning that if you broke it, you might damage the insides. It's just another example of this watch being sort of designed to be used in the field. The designers knew it would be bumped around, it would be damaged a bit. I've seen these things go through dive tests, and from what I've seen, they are rated at a certain level, but they can usually exceed that quite a bit before they actually will fail and implode and crush and everything. Generally speaking, most of us are probably not going to be diving, but this does have 200 meters of water resistance, so I think you could survive with that, to be honest. Now, it does have a rotating bezel. It moves both ways. Because the markers don't line up 100%, it's a bit finicky, but I don't think you're going to be caring too much about 1 minute one way or the other. Overall, I am really happy with this. I've only owned it for a week, but it is a watch that I reach for regularly. I want to wear it. It does have a couple of flaws and some inconsistencies, but to an extent, that's almost its charm. It is this cheap, inexpensive watch that's meant to be worn. It's meant to be bumped around. You're meant to scratch it up. You're meant to drop it. And it's meant to keep going. And I find that all of those factors contribute to it having this kind of appeal that makes you want to put it on. You want to wear it. If you're able to pick one of these watches up and you're looking for something in your collection which is a beater, you don't mind if it gets broken or damaged or scratched up, and you want something a little bit different, I'd say definitely check this out. The hype that I've sort of seen online is worth it, actually. There are times that people will hype up this amazing new thing that you should absolutely get. It's the best thing ever. Buy it immediately, and oftentimes, no, it's a complete waste of time, and it's just something that one person got really excited about, which is great, and then a whole bunch of people jumped on the trend, and it's not as great for them. In this case, this is this sort of wonky little watch that's great, and the hype that you're hearing online is actually justified. So if you are in the market of something a bit different, if you wanted a dive watch, and they have other families, they have the common disc and stuff, so if you're looking for something which is I believe they have something which is more geared towards the aviation sort of watches. They have something which is more field watches. Have a look and see if you can find a couple of different models of this and just grab them. They're cheap, they're inexpensive. I think that if they break, you're probably not going to find someone who could fix them, to be honest, but you could probably find a replacement pretty cheaply. And from what I've heard online from other reviewers, these things last a very long time without needing service. I remember one review, I can't recall his name at the moment, but he was saying something along the lines of, these things are meant to last for about 10 years without a service. I think he said 5 years without a service, but they usually last around 10 before something actually breaks and you have no choice but to get it opened up and hope someone can work it, the mechanism inside, or just potentially replace it. Overall, I'm very happy with the purchase. If you are able to find one of these going cheap and you want to try something new, I highly recommend just pull the trigger, grab it, and see if you like it. Anyways, thank you for watching. Have a good day.